Hey guys, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Ankush here from Alif Consulting. Welcome in our Azure Migrate video. In this video, we will be going to understand how we can discover the AWS VM using the Azure Migration appliance, or how we can enable the replication for the AWS VMs in Azure Migration project, right? In our previous videos, we understand how we discover the AWS instances or the virtual machine, how we can go ahead and do the assessment for discovered AWS instances or the virtual machines. In this video, we will be going to understand how we can do the migration, right? So for the migration, we're going to have a two-step. In the first step, where we will be going to uh, configure the appliance, and we're going to enable or discover the VM and enable the VM replication. In a second part, which is a step 2, which is going to have a separate video where we will be going to run a test failover, or where and the actual failover when the replication is completed, right? In this video, this is the what we are going to do. We are going to verify the prerequisites for the migration. We are going to prepare uh, the migration project. We're going to prepare the instances. We are going to prepare the instances for the migration. We are going to add our appliance into the Azure migration project. We're going to set up the appliance, deploying the configuration server. Then we're going to install the mobility agent on the AWS VM, which we want to migrate, and then we're going to enable the replication of the VM, and then we're going to track and monitor of the replication of the status, right? So this is what we are going to do in this video, right? So let's quickly jump into the portal and do the real action, right? So as I told you, I already have my the discovery instance created on the AWS. As is mentioned, you need to make sure your machines on AWS are fully prepared. So this is my migration instance, appliance instance, where I'm going to run my migration appliance. This is my VM which I want to migrate using this appliance, right? On the Azure side, you need to make sure you have your project created. So in my case, I already have project created because I already have run discovery and assessment in my earlier video. So I'm going to use same project to do that, right? To done the migration, what I need to do first, I need to do the discover. So if you see this have already have one discover VM, right? However, I cannot use the discovery appliance to do the migration, right? So for the migration, I need to have a separate appliance, right? So how I can set up that appliance is, first of all, I need to click on replication, right? I need to select where I want to migrate, right? So I want to migrate it to the virtual machine. And where do you want to migrate? I want to migrate it from the Azure, right? And then click on continue, right? And these are the steps where you're going to specify what is your source or virtualized source is going to be, and you want to add the replication. In my case, it says error because we haven't set up the configuration server, right? How we can set up that? For that, we need to go back. We need to click on discover, and here we will be going to get the key, the appliance setup, to enable the or to configure the configuration server, which is a migration server on the AWS side, right? So here, what you need to click, you need to click on what is your migration source. For our case, it's a physical or other, because AWS and GCP sense as a Azure Migrate sends AWS, GCP, and other hyperscaler as a physical server. And what kind of appliance we want to do? We want to install the our application appliance, right? So from here you can download the appliance, and this is the configuration or registration key which you can download to register your configuration server to this project, right? So let's log in into the server. Oops, sorry for that, right? So in my this server, which where I'm going to install my configuration server, is already have set up and vault credentials, the key for registration key downloaded. So let's go ahead and simply run the setup, right? So this is the setup which you need to run. first it's going to extract this whole application, and then it's going to run the further step, right? So give it a few, I can say 2 or 3 minutes to get extracted, and then once the extraction is finished, we will be able to move forward with the further step. All right, so the extracting process is completed. Now it's going to run the further setup process, where we're going to define the configuration of this unified setup of the configuration server. Now, what exactly we want to do? Either we want to install the configuration of the process server, or we want to do the additional process server into the scale deployment, right? So this is the first server. So let's select the first one. We need to accept the third party agreement, since it's going to use MySQL for the database. And then here we need to specify the site recovery registration key, so that it can connect with the recovery vault for migration. Click on next. It's going, or here you need to specify the internet setting. In my case, it's a direct connection without any proxy. So it's checking the internet connection connectivity with the recovery vault, and then it's going to run few prerequisites check to see if everything is as per the requirement or as per the prerequisite. In my case, I have a few warnings because of this is a POC environment, but in your real world, you need to make sure all of these checks turn to the green. Here you need to specify the root password of MySQL, so that you can connect with database in future if you have any issues. And here you can specify either you want to protect VMware virtual machine or not. In my case, it's just the AWS machines. So yes, I'm selecting no, but if in your case, if you are doing the VMware protection, or migrating the machines from VMware, this is the you need to click on yes, right? So click on no, click on next. Where the installation location is going to be, so I'm picking up the default one, but you can have a different location, right? So it's giving you the right, you need to have a 600 GB of space, but in my case it's less. But let's go ahead and do that. So you need to select the communication interface for connectivity with the VMs and the connectivity with the Azure. So I'm selecting a single NIC because I have a both of the NICs. Uh, only have a one NIC on this VM, sorry. So both of the configuration for connectivity with the on-premise or connectivity with the Azure component, I'm using the same NIC, right? So once that has been done, click on installation. In this one, it's going to download the MySQL because that's the component which we have, which this unified setup or the site recovery server is going to use to store the information. And then it's going to configure rest of the further required component, right? So it's going to take approx 5 minutes as mentioned in this tab, right? But it might take little more time in our scenario because I'm in very small instance. So yeah, let's get this process to be completed, and then we'll move forward for the further step. So in this step, what is doing it? Actually, it's installing the IaaS because that's the service this site recovery server used for the communication, right? So yeah, it's doing the IaaS, then it's going to install any other third-party components, and then installing the configuration and the process server, and then the site recovery provider, and then master target and the other servers configuration here, which it's going to install on this VM, right? So yeah, let's wait for these all these steps to get completed. All right, so IaaS service is configured. Now it's installing the third-party components, and then once the installation of third-party components done, it's going to install the configuration and the process server, which are the very main component of migrating a VM from AWS to Azure. Well, this is taking more time than what I have expected. So yeah, let's okay. So yeah, we need to wait. So please bear with us till this process has get completed. So this is still taking a lot more time than what we have expected, and it's still stuck on a come on step 4. So yeah, please bear with us because without uh, with these all our step until we get a red tick, sorry, the green tick, we would not be able to move forward. So yeah, please bear with us. Now with the first step, what exactly this installation is doing it, like it's installing the configuration and the process server, which are the very important part to do the migration from AWS to Azure. All right, guys, this is still stuck on the step 4. So yeah, I am expecting this is going to be take a lot more time. So please bear with us in this video. All right, guys. All right, guys, still stuck on step 4, so yeah, give it a few more minutes. Wait for a few more minutes, and then we will be able to move forward. On Azure side, let me quickly show you what is going to be happen on the Azure side, right? So once all the step has been configured or the configuration server is registered with this Azure Migrate project. From here, if we drop down, we would be able to see the server on which we are installing the this replication appliance would be able to visible here, and then we can finalize the registration directly from here, right? So this is the next step on the Azure side which we need to do. All right, finally it's came on step 5. I'm hoping after this it's going to be a little quick. So yeah, please bear with us. But meanwhile, let me see if there is any space issues or anything like that. If the okay, so we still have a lot more space available in the disk, so that's not any issues here. All right. So yeah, step 4 is completed and step 5 is also completed. Now we have a step 6, which is installation of a master target server. So yeah, let's wait for step 5, sorry, step 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to get completed. All right, so step 6 is also done. Now it's on step 7. So now it's installing, sorry, it's configuring the master target server, which is the one of the component of this migration appliance. All right, so the configuration of the master target server is also completed. Now it's installing the Microsoft Azure Recovery Service agent, which is the one of the agent used for connecting or for doing the backup of the machines on the backup of the files and the folder on directly in the machine. That is the one of the prerequisites for the site recovery server, so that we can take the backup of the site recovery configuration locations kind of thing, right? So that's the reason it's installing the Microsoft Azure Recovery service agent. So that also has been completed. Now it's registering this server on the site recovery or the recovery vault, so that we can see that we can done the registration, or we can see the server on the Azure portal and can finalize registration there, right? So if you go into the portal, as of now you would not be able to see anything, because as of now nothing has been done. Even if we refresh this thing, let's see if we see anything, right? So let's this install. No, as of now we cannot see anything here. So yeah, let's registering the site recovery service, site recovery to get completed, and let's wait for all of these steps to get completed. All right, so it's still doing the registration with the site recovery. So yeah, let's wait for all of these steps to get completed, because this step has to be completed to get this recovery appliance to get connected with the Azure Migrate project. All right, so all the step has been completed. So let's finish it from here. So this is the password which you need to keep in copied. Go back to the portal. So once you've finished, you can need to refresh this page once, and then you would be able to see a new appliance here. Yep, configuration server, and finalize the registration. Right, so it's finalizing the registration on the Azure side also, to validate configuration at, validate the communication and the configuration at the both side. right? So once this final registration is completed at the Azure side, we would be able to do the further steps, right? So this is how you configure the appliance. Now further step is, the next step is how we can enable the replication of the VMs or the virtual machine from AWS to Azure, right? That something is happen using the Azure Recovery Vault. Azure Recovery Vault provides the capability of replicating a VM, and that service which also allow us to migrate the VMs, right? So Azure migration is the project, or you can say provide the multiple capability, and Recovery Vault is the one of the option in that capability which allows you to replicate the VM from one the source or others, I mean the one source to the destination, which is Azure, and then from there you can replicate your VM and then migrate the VM directly into the Azure, right? So yeah, let's wait for this deployment to get finished, and then we'll start work on the next step, which is start the replication of the VM. All right, so the registration of this configuration server is also completed. Now what is the next step, right? So go back to the Azure migration project, go on the server, database, and the web option. Make sure you have selected the correct project, right? So no, I think we have selected the wrong project. Just give me a moment. It should be Azure Pass. It should be, no, it should be this, right? So yeah, this is the project, right? So since the discovery is done, now what we need to do, we need to start replicating of the VM, right? I have selected the wrong project, so that's the reason I was not getting that option, right? So discovery is done. So I have already discovered the one VM. If you click on this VM, it's going to show you the VM which is there, right? So that's a VM. Now what we need to do, we need to enable the replication. For that, what we need to do, we need to click on replication under the migration and the modernization, and then server and the virtual machine, which is the source, and the destination is going to be the Azure VM. Click on continue. Select your source, which in our case it's going to be physical and other. Select the appliance, select the process server, and set the guest credential, right? So as of now, I don't have any credentials, right? So this credential has to be set up, right? Without this credential, it would not allow me. So that's something I can do by going on the overview, and here I think can do the or set up the guest credentials, right? So this is the infrastructure server, this is the application server. No, I so the only thing is which is pending right now is to, okay, no, this is not option, so we need to set up the guest credential, and that's something we can do directly from here, not from here. All right, so search for recovery vault. You might see we don't have any recovery vault. No, this is not going to be here, right? There must be one recovery vault. Yep, this is the recovery vault. And replicate item, replicate physical to Azure, which is the classic way of doing it. You can do it from here also. I'm just checking site recovery infrastructure. Okay, VMware classic. So this is the server which is there, master target server, everything is there, everything is connected, everything is free, space is there. Yeah, so give me a moment, let me check where the somehow there was a credential option which you can do, and that's something you will be going to do on the server, I think. Yes. Yep, that's on a server, right? So add account, add a credential, which is eventually need to be used for the discovery, right? So I am adding the credential for demo VM. Yep. So as soon as you populate this, add this credential here, it will be automatically populated on the Azure side also, right? So in my case, this is the VM. So let me grab the password of this VM. So this is the username. Let me upload the password because I want to use this uh, default password of the administrator account. Go back here, put the administrator, put the password, click on OK, and the credential has been automatically added here. Now go back to the Azure project, go back to the server data and web apps, and click on replication. This is the source, this is the destination. My source is going to be the virtualized, sorry, the physical and other appliance is this. This is my process server, and it's have not uh, used that. I mean, these credentials are yet not available there. So give it a few minutes to uh, let me stop and start the service so that we will get a new configuration. So yeah, I just click on saved. Uh, uh, to basically start and stop the service so that we can get everything re-replicated, or configuration is re-replicated to the Azure Migrate project. So I give it a few more minutes to basically start the service, and let me see if still can see the credentials. No, not yet, because these credentials are very important. So this credential has been yet not replicated. So yet starting the service. No, these credentials are still not there because maybe it's not replicated yet. right? So yeah, the configuration is successfully updated. Let me refresh this one and see if the credentials are still replicated, or it's not still available there. It's not available there. Mm. Okay, so let's refresh the tab one more time. Okay, so these credentials are not yet available, but yes, from here we can set up the credentials, we can set up the virtual machines, we can set up the target, we can set up the compute disk and tag, and then from here we can start the replication of the VM, right? So as soon as you started the replication, it will going to start the replication of the VM and the same configuration uh, which uh, which you have selected, right? So let's take an example here. You're selecting a 1 VM, or you're selecting a 2 VM, or you're selecting a 3 VM. All the VMs, all the disks which you have selected with this replicated configuration, uh, and then from the selected configuration or the selected VM, uh, what is happening is all the configurations, or the inside the VM is definitely going to be replicated, right? So yeah, that's how you can replicate the VM, right? So once your replication is started, it's going to take a couple of hours, depends on the size of the VM. So let's take an example. You have a very small size of like a 50 GB or 100 GB of the machine, right? So that's not going to take that much of time. But let's take an example. Your VM have a 1 TB of the data, or 2 TB of the, or 10 TB of the data. So it's going to take more time in that case, because the data is more, right? So again, the replication which is happening from AWS to Azure is again depends on the size, depends on the configuration, and depends on the overall disk basically which has been attached to the VMs, right? So yeah, that's it in this video. I hope you like this video. If you like, please click on like and subscribe for more upcoming videos, and feel free to reach us if you have any questions, right? Thank you.